Hi everyone, my name's Kaz and today I'm going to be talking about the 20 books that I would like to read during 2020. Talking about 20 books is going to take a little while, so I feel like I'm just going to jump straight into it. First up, a book that I'm very excited to get to, and I know I will be reading it because I'm participating in like a read-along for this, is The Final Empire, the first book in the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. I'm going to be participating in the Royally Booked Club throughout the year as we read all of the Cosmere verse novels. So we're going to start with Elantris. But I'm talking about Mistborn because I feel like this is a series that is very, very well known that I'm surprised that I haven't gotten around to reading yet. But if you want to follow the Royally Booked Club, links in the description. And you know what I realized? I honestly don't know what this is about. I've just heard so many people talking about it as they've read it and mostly really enjoyed it. So I don't even know what this is about. I guess my excitement is just the hype train. So the Lord Ruler basically owns the world and has been ruling for 1,000 years. And every attempted revolt has failed miserably. But it seems like there is a different kind of uprising starting to brew. And the success of this uprising is pretty heavily dependent on a street urchin who must learn to master allomancy, the power of a Mistborn. The Surprising Power of a Good Dumpling by Y. Chim. The title and the cover make me really excited to read this because I love dumplings. So I feel like I'm going to have to be really strategic when I'm reading this one and have dumplings ready to eat because I'm going to get some hella strong cravings. But this is a YA contemporary novel about family and mental wellness. I think there's also a bit of a romance, which sounds great. The main character, Anna, is super busy trying to look after her siblings and also helping out with her dad's restaurant. I think her mum is ill, not sure physically, mentally, a bit of both perhaps, but she seems to be spending all of her time in bed and she never leaves. When Anna's mum finally gets out of bed, things go from bad to worse and her condition isn't getting any better. So Anna is trying to deal with all of that stuff. At the same time, there's also a new delivery boy at the restaurant who I'm assuming she has some crushy feelings for. Really, really excited about this one. Another lovely YA contemporary on the list, we have What I Like About Me by Jenna Guillaume. This one I'm really excited about. I feel like this is going to be such a breeze to get through and definitely the perfect kind of summer read, like this cover. Definitely getting the summer vibes. Plus, you know, it's also set during the summer, so perfect. So I'm hoping to get to this one in maybe January or February, but I just have a feeling that I'm going to really enjoy the writing style with this. Jenna Guillaume used to be a BuzzFeed editor and I loved all of her articles. I think she's now freelancing. But hearing her talk about the book, I feel like this is going to have such a strong and fun narrative voice and I cannot wait. So this one follows Maisie, who enters a beauty pageant, which she never thought she was going to do. Her dad goes AWOL for Christmas and her best friend starts dating the guy that she's been in love with for the longest time. So it's just a hell of a summer. I believe we have some fat rep in here as well. It's got a lot to do with body image and self-love. And honestly, I'm so excited to pick this up. We also have A Heart So Fierce and Broken by, how cool is this arc, by the way? It is so fancy, by Bridget Kemmerer. So this is the sequel to A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which was a Beauty and the Beast retelling. If you haven't read A Curse So Dark and Lonely, you totally should. But it's about Prince Ren and Harper. There's kind of like two different worlds. So we have our contemporary world where Harper is from. She has cerebral palsy. One day she sees a girl being attacked and she decides to step in and help her out. And because of this, she gets transported into kind of a more fantastical world where Prince Ren is basically the beast and has been repeating the autumn of his 18th year over and over and over again. And there's pretty much no one left in the castle. I really, really enjoyed it. Cannot wait to read book 2. Jade War by Fonda Lee is the sequel to Jade City, another book that I read and really enjoyed. It was one of the book club picks of the month. So the first book, Jade City, this quote on the back actually describes kind of the backdrop for the book really well, like the setting. An epic drama reminiscent of the best classic Hong Kong gangster films, but taking place in a fantasy metropolis. So it is fantasy, and in this world we have Jade, which is kind of like has magical properties. Some people are able to wield Jade, and with that their kind of strength and speed is enhanced, which is very cool. Not everyone is able to safely use Jade though. Some people, it's kind of like a drug, they get addicted to it, but there are some really horrific side effects that can kind of make them lose their mind. So there is this drug that allows those people that are negatively affected by Jade to wield it more safely. And with this coming onto the scene, the two main clans in Janloon kind of go to war. This is the sequel. Really looking forward to it. Cannot wait. The Astonishing Color of After by Emily XR Pan. This one is going to be quite an emotional one. The main character, Lee, her mother commits suicide and leaves Lee a note that says, "I want you to remember." She ends up traveling to Taiwan and meeting her grandparents, and while there, tries to unlock the secrets of her family and figure out what it is she's supposed to be remembering. I know I'm going to have to be in the right place to read this because mentally, I know it's going to hit really hard, but I'm very excited for it. I've heard so many fantastic things about it. I just know it's going to be a beautiful book, so aiming to get to it in 2020. The Last Witch by Andrzej Sapkowski. So this is the first book in kind of like, what is it called? The Witcher series? I'm not entirely sure, but this is the first book in this series that inspired the game and now the Netflix show, which I'm so excited about. I wish I had started reading these before the Netflix show came out, but I would like to start reading the books at some point. This one, though, I do believe is a series of shorter stories. I don't know about the story in this in particular, but we have Geralt of Rivia, who is a witcher, and his abilities as a witcher allowed him to be like a really skilled fighter and assassin. I loved Witcher 3, the game. Loved it. I cannot wait to replay it, and I'm just excited to give these a go. Alright, we also have The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is one, even reading the synopsis, I'm a little unsure how to describe it, but I've heard fantastic things about this and it's been on my to-read list for a little while now. So from what I can tell, the world seems to be ending. There are 3 things that happen on a particular day. First of all, a woman named Essen comes home to find her son brutally murdered and her daughter has been kidnapped. A mighty empire collapses and most of its citizens are murdered. And then there also is a great red rift that goes through the middle of the world's only continent and is spewing ash and blocking out the sun. On Goodreads, the synopsis says, a battle royale of nations not for power or territory, but simply for the basic resources necessary to get through the long dark night. Just sounds so good. Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I've been meaning to read this one for a while as well, and I'm so disappointed in myself that I haven't picked this up yet. So gonna try and make an effort in 2020 to get around to reading this one. But we have Richard, who stumbles across a girl named Dor who is bleeding on the pavement. She's basically on the run from assassins and she comes from the London below. And because he comes across Dor, Richard is led to the London below where there are monsters and angels and a labyrinth, and it just sounds wonderful. I'm so excited. I love the fact that this is illustrated by Chris Riddell as well. This is gonna be such a great time. I cannot wait. Next, I have The Wilder Girls by Rory Power. This one sounds so eerie and intriguing. So it's set at a girls' school and it's basically been 18 months since the tox appeared. It sounds like a weird, mysterious illness of sorts. It basically killed the teachers one by one, and then when the students started to be infected, their bodies became very strange and foreign. The entire school is under quarantine, but when one of the girls goes missing, Hetty is determined to find her. She decides to break quarantine and travel beyond the fence where there are whatever horrors there are in the woods. Sounds very interesting. I'm curious to see what I think. Lanka and Roja by Anna Marie McLemore. I have not read an Anna Marie McLemore book yet, and I own a few now, and I've been wanting to pick them up, but just for whatever reason I haven't. So making the effort again in 2020. I'm going to start with this one. So this follows 2 sisters, and they come from a family that has been bound by a generations old spell that will ultimately leave one of them as human and the other trapped in the body of a swan. But things get a little more complicated when 2 local boys get entangled in this game as well. I've just heard so many wonderful things about Anna Marie McLemore's writing and storytelling, so really hoping to get to this. Scythe by Neil Schusterman. I've been meaning to read this ever since it came out. I don't know why I haven't done it yet. I've been hearing really good things about books 2 and 3 in the series as well, so I think it's time. I can marathon these now. So this is set in kind of a utopia where humanity has not only conquered illnesses but also death, and because of this, you know, population control, there are scythes who are able to end people's lives. So in this one we have Citra and Rowan who are apprenticing to a scythe, and neither of them wants this role, but they basically got to master the art of taking a life. Sounds really, really interesting. So I really hope I enjoy this. The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yi. So if you're new here, I love Avatar, The Last Airbender. Favorite show, and I've been slowly getting through the comics, and when I heard that there was going to be a novel about Avatar Kyoshi, I knew that I needed it. If you're really unfamiliar with the world of Avatar The Last Airbender, there are basically 4 nations: air, earth, fire, and water, and within the world there are benders. From each Nathan you can have some people who are water benders, there are fire benders, air benders, and earth benders, and it's kind of like elemental magic. But then we have the Avatar. There's only ever one each generation, and the Avatar is able to bend all 4 elements. And they're also kind of the link between the living world and the spirit world. You need to watch the show if you haven't already. It's now on Netflix, and I love it. I rewatch it all the time. So a couple of generations before Aang, from Avatar The Last Airbender, we have Kyoshi, who's from the Earth Kingdom. Guys, I'm so excited about this. I cannot wait. Oh, love this so much. Next up is American Dirt by Janine Cummins. So this is one of the books that my work is publishing early next year. Everyone who's been talking about it so far has just been head over heels. It sounds like it's also going to be a really hard-hitting one as well. I don't think it shies away from some pretty heavy subjects. So this book is inspired by like the thousands of experiences of migrants who cross the US-Mexico border, and it highlights just how dangerous this journey is as well. The main character, Lydia, she was a bookseller, she was married to a journalist, and she has a son. Due to whatever events happen, it's just her and her son, and she makes the decision to cross the border into the United States of America. And it's kind of just about her finding the strength to keep on going for the sake of her son, and I'm really, really excited to get to this one. My heart already hurts just thinking about what reading this is going to be like. I know it's going to be an intense reading experience, but I hope I love it. Eggshell Skull by Bree Lee. So this is a memoir that really focuses on the justice system in Australia, particularly when it has to do with sexual assault. We follow Bree on her journey through the legal system. So she was first a daughter of a policeman, then she was a law student, and finally a judge's associate in both metropolitan and regional Queensland. So this covers a lot of her experiences over the years, the things she's seen and witnessed, and how justice can look different, especially for women. This has been recommended to me many times by my friends, and I'm shocked I haven't read it yet. Gonna get to this. I think it's going to be a really important one, especially since I don't know too much about the Australian legal system, so it's probably going to be pretty eye-opening in that respect as well. The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I haven't read this yet. I'm just going to say that I subconsciously was waiting for the entire series to come out so I could just binge it all. So that's kind of going to be my plan. This series is just so heavily talked about, and I honestly don't know how much I'm going to enjoy this series. Like, I just can't really predict how my reading experience is going to be with this one, so I'm excited to find out. So we have Jude. Her and her sisters all witnessed their parents being murdered, and then they're abducted and taken to the land of fairies. So Jude is installed into the royal court, and she quickly learns that in order to survive there, she needs to be just as cunning and just as smart as the Fae. Next is Want by Cindy Pon. So in this world, people are able to buy more time, so they're able to live longer. The wealthy also wear really special suits that protect them from pollution and illnesses, but the poor don't have access to this and have to suffer. We have Jason Zhu, who is just fed up with the system and is determined to fix things. So I think he and his friends like infiltrate the system in order to stop all this corruption. Sounds very cool. The Immortal Lists by Chloe Benjamin. So there are 4 siblings who one day have their fortunes told. Basically the predictions that they receive are about when they're going to die. So it's kind of about the effects this has on each of their lives and how they all live their lives differently, whether or not they are going to die sooner or later, which sounds really cool. I love the concept of this. I've heard some mixed things about it. So again, really curious to see what I think of this one. Don't know where I'm gonna fall either way. We will find out. The Poppy War by R.F. Kong. I was hoping to read this by the end of 2019, so I'm gonna put it on my list for 2020 and make sure I do it because I need to, I want to, it's about time. So this is a fantasy inspired by the Second Sino-Japanese War. From what I've heard, it's going to be quite graphic and intense, but so worth it. This book is definitely going to be a commitment but it's one I'm willing to make and hopefully I get around to it soon. The last book that I'm going to be talking about is Wondersmith by Jessica Townsend. I'm currently halfway through Nevermore and really enjoying it, and then I want to read Wondersmith ahead of the release of Hollowpox so I can read the book before it comes out next year. So the first book in the series, Nevermore, we follow Morrigan Crow, who is cursed. Because she was born on an unlucky day, she's basically blamed for all of the misfortunes in her town. Being cursed, she is also doomed to die at midnight of eventide. As Morrigan awaits her fate, this mysterious man named Jupiter North appears and whisks her away to the magical city of Nevermore, where she is going to be contending for a place in the Wondrous Society, and this involves some dangerous trials that she must complete. Really, really enjoying this so far. So magical, so wonderful. Cannot wait to read book 2 and then book 3. So these are the 20 books that I would very much like to read in 2020. Fingers crossed I get to them all. I'll update you at the end of the year how I'm doing with it all. But yeah, that's all that I have for now. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the books that I've mentioned. Any that you'd recommend I pick up sooner rather than later, because knowing me, I'll forget about my list and then by the end of the year I'll be like flailing. But yeah, if you've got any particular recommendations, I'd love to hear it down in the comment section below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you very soon in a new video. But until then, I will talk to you in the comments. Bye!